Hello, it's me, Celeste, if you didn't already know. This video is dating as a single mama, 3 pieces of advice I would give myself. So obviously, not obviously, but if you know me, this is an area that I definitely still struggle in, and I'm definitely still learning about and learning how to navigate. But I think it would be maybe worrying if I hadn't learned anything in the last 2.5 years as dating as a single mom. So I don't want to come across as like, hey, I know it all and I'm dating expert, because I'm definitely not. This is more, you know, if I got to come face to face with myself in the past, what I would say to myself, and the tips of it, knowing what I've been through, tips that I would give myself. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 that I reflected over, and that I feel like I've got somewhat of a grasp on. Still, again, I make mistakes, but I guess my perception of these things has changed. So the first piece of advice I would give myself would be having boundaries is a way of loving yourself and loving others. I have definitely had the idea in the past that having like boundaries is a set of rules, it's really legalistic, it allows you to have no fun, without really understanding the heart behind it, and without realizing or taking into consideration that having boundaries would have, you know, really safeguarded my heart and other people's heart. And it's not just physical boundaries, but also emotional ones. So yes, that would be the first piece of advice I would give myself, my stubborn little self who didn't want to listen to anyone sharing about boundaries. The second piece of cringeworthy advice I would give myself would be, the heart is deceiving and emotions are fleeting. And I am also a poet. That was really cringy and a real dad joke, but if you know me, you know that's what I'm about. I did not make up the heart is deceiving. That is in the Bible. So it's just something that I haven't, I guess, caught on to. It's just something that I hadn't caught on to, and it's something that I'm definitely still learning, because I've always been the kind of girl that, you know, would follow my heart or follow how I feel, but I just feel like it's not a very rational way. And not that I'm a rational kind of girl, but I just feel like it's not always the wisest way to go. And it's not to say that my emotions aren't valid, it's not to say that my feelings aren't valid, but I feel like when it comes to making important decisions, I'm learning anyway, is that some sort of thought needs to go into it, and it can't just be based on how I'm feeling. And I think especially in romantic interest, it's been very easy for me to just be like, I like this person, so I'm just going to go all in and I'm going to give it my all, without actually looking at the facts and looking at what's in reality, and not just, you know, what's being fueled by how I'm feeling. So yeah, that's number 2. The heart is deceiving, emotions are fleeting. And the third piece of advice I would give myself would be, my children, or would I say your children? I would say your children will not be a burden to the right person. So in the past, and still sometimes it's a lie that comes up, but I can recognize it now. I had this lie in my mind that because I'm a mum, because I have children, that people would find my children burdensome. And just a little story, I was sitting at the dining table with Scarlett once, and she just randomly said to me, she's like, Mummy, when are you going to get a husband? I was like, that is a great question, Scarlett. I do not know, child. I didn't say that, but we went into like a little bit of a chat about, you know, me finding a husband, and I questioned her what kind of husband she'd want me to have. And then she turned around and said, like, she thought about it for a minute, and then she said to me, it's going to be really hard for you to find a husband. I was like, oh, why do you say that? She's like, because you have us. And my heart, like, broke into a million pieces, and it made me realize that I was literally having that same thought, and not in a million years would I think that, actually I did have the thought that they were a burden, but what a disgusting lie, because my children are so beautiful, they're so valuable. So yeah, that's a hard one to admit, but it's true, it has crossed my mind. But I'm definitely in a place now where I know that my kids will also be a blessing to the right person, or they may not be, maybe it'll just be the 3 of us, which is also a possibility, and I would just have to live with that. The 4th piece of advice, I cannot say that. Do you know how many times I've tried to say that? The fourth, use the 4th advice that I would give you. I'm not making sense, but just the 4th piece, the 4th one, would be, only Jesus can satisfy, but it's okay to be sad and cry all the time because you don't have a partner. Just kidding. The 4th piece of advice would be, only Jesus can satisfy, but it's okay to desire a partner. I feel like it's very cliche to say things like that to a single person. Only Jesus can satisfy, only Jesus can fill that hole, only Jesus can, you know, which is all very true. But I know that in the past I've had well-meaning people say these things to me, and I'm feeling guilty because I'm like, yeah, but I still want a partner. And I guess I've learned that, you know, first and foremost, he's my savior. He's the only one that can make me whole. But it is okay that I have the desire to have a partner, and it is a very godly and a biblical desire to want to marry and want a partner. So that took me a little while to, you know, come to terms with. It's like I can both things, but I think what I've seen in myself, the danger is when I don't believe that Jesus can satisfy, and the only thing I have my eyes on is a potential partner and being married, and depending on that to make me happy, depending on that to make me whole, because the truth is that it won't. And it's not to say that I believe that every single day of my life. Like, I feel like it's a journey in itself, you know, believing that Jesus can satisfy. But it's something that I've been learning, and it's something that I can see in my life play out when I've turned to other things to satisfy me and they let me down, because the only one that won't let me down is Jesus. So that is the last and final tip to my past self. Like I said at the beginning, I'm no expert at dating. I'm still learning. I still suck at it. There's just definitely things I've picked up along the way, and yeah, I'm just sharing my experiences in hopes that maybe someone can relate. Well, not even hoping that, but I just want to share my experiences, and I do hope that it touches someone. I hope that it does help somebody, and even if it doesn't, that's okay. I trust that Jesus will do his thing anyway. But anyway, here's one of my awkward goodbyes once again. Fare thee well. It's just, I'm so awkward. This is so awkward for me, so just excuse me. I'm sorry if I seem awkward. If I do seem awkward, it is because I am. And the third piece of advice I would give myself would be, that's what I would say. I would just clap in my face. And the fourth piece of advice that I would give myself, I don't know what, I have to like wriggle every time I go to give advice. I'm like, and the fourth, I just need to get comfortable while I share this. And the fourth piece of advice would be, okay, sorry, ignore me. And the fourth piece of advice, piss? Pretty sure I said piss. He's the only one that can be the piece that I'm missing. And also, it's in the Bible, so it must be true.